Hello, everyone, and welcome to my office. I know that this is the first time I'm coming to you sort of live for a new video, but I wanted to answer some questions that a couple of you have sent to me via email, and I feel like it's something that all of you would probably be asking at this point in the semester. So I wanted to come on and just talk about a few things. First and foremost, the exam is probably at the top of this list. The paper will also be in this video in a description. I will also be posting a written version of the assignment for the paper. So hopefully this will help you out. And as always, if you have any questions or things that you want me to answer, either by a video that we share with everybody or just one-on-one, always let me know. One person did email me twice, and both of them went to my bulk mail folder. So luckily and gratefully, the student messaged me on my phone, and I was able to get to it. So thank you for doing that. That is the easiest way for all of us to make sure that we are getting each other's communication. All right, everybody. So let's first talk about your exam. So the exam is going to be posted Friday. That's as in 2 days from now. It will be posted and it will be available for a whole week. That's 7 days. So until the following Friday. It will be available until 11:59 at night. So my recommendation is that you don't put it off that long. Okay, that's my recommendation. But you have all the time you need. There is no timer on it. It is open note, open book, open lecture, whatever you want it to be, you can utilize. This exam will consist of questions that are multiple choice or short answer. And by short answer, I mean it will be things like, list and define the three artificial proofs from Aristotle. Now, the only way to really screw that question up is to not do one part or the other, to just list the three parts or the three artificial proof and not define them, for example. So just make sure you read the question and you answer it fully. None of them will require short essay or like sort of paragraphs of answers. None of them will be like that. So that's what I mean by short answer. I don't know how many questions there will be just yet. Each question is worth different amounts of points. So you can always look to how many points the question is worth to sort of guide you in how much of an effort you want to put into answering the question. That should help you, I think, along the way. Now, the question might be, why do I do my exams this way? And the answer is because the goal of these exams is not to find out what you don't know, but to make sure that you can find out what you do need to know. And so the only way to really, really do badly is to do a couple of things. One, never know from the book or my notes, your notes, or my lectures, what answer I'm looking for. That will always be available to you in at least one of those three, if not all three of those. Secondly, would be to Google an answer. Google never gives the right answer because Google is giving you an answer out of context. So we need to make sure that our answers are in context to the class. The third is to just not answer the questions or to answer six of them or something like that. Whatever you do, make sure you answer as many questions as you possibly can. And that should be all of them. It should be all of them. There really shouldn't be a question that you just can't find the answer to in the lectures or in your notes or in the book. Okay. So if you just sit down, take the time to do the answers, read the questions carefully, you'll do well. You won't just pass, but you will do well. And I'm not too concerned about your abilities in being able to do well. So that's the only way that you can really like mess up this exam. Why do I have you do this? I just want to know that you're able to find the answer. That's it. The majority of your points in this class are earned by the papers. So that's actually going to be a lot more important than these exams. The exams have no timer on them. I have always been told that you can exit the exam and go back into it. However, being someone who worked with Blackboard for over a decade, I don't really trust that very much. So my suggestion always is find an hour or two that you can set aside and just say, okay, I'm going to finish this exam. Or if you need to leave and come back to it, then simply just don't exit out. Just stay where you are. That's my paranoid advice. I have not heard of anybody leaving the exam and not being able to finish it, but just in case, I just want you to know that. The other thing is too, there will be no extensions on this exam or any of the exams in my class. They are up for a full 7 days. Hopefully you can find the time to take and sit down and answer those exam questions. The other thing is too, there is no time limit. Most people do these in about an hour, hour and 15 minutes at most. But if you need more time, it's available to you. As long as you don't start trying to take this exam at 11:45 p.m. next Friday, you'll be fine. All right, that's it on the exam. If you have any further questions, let me know. If you're going to ask me what it covers everything from the beginning of the semester up through Christine Day Pisson, which was on schedule for today. So everything from today back to the beginning of the semester is going to be a possibility to be on the exam. Generally, I'm looking for broad, sweeping, big picture ideas for knowledge, not usually looking for direct quotations or anything like that. So hopefully that helps. On to the paper. Your first paper is just simply a sort of paper for us to get to know each other, for you to understand how I grade, and for me to give you the feedback that I think you'll need, because the second paper is worth so much more and is much more in depth. This first paper is you demonstrating your knowledge of a subject area or a concept or idea from this class. So it can be done in a lot of ways. I am going to give you 3 different options, sort of a choose your own adventure for this paper, so that you can do what works best for you. The rubric for grading this exam is already available to you on Brightspace, so make sure that you look that over. It's the same rubric that I use for the second paper too. I will make sure that you have comments back on this paper. No one will receive a grade on this paper without getting comments back from me on what to do to better improve the final paper. If I have to give everybody A's, I give everybody A's. I do not have some sort of curve or set idea of how many of certain grades I need to give on these papers. So all you have to do is do your best work and earn the grade that you want. It's that easy. So look to the rubric and make sure that you do the assignment. So what is the assignment? The assignment for this first paper is 3 to 5 pages, typed, double-spaced, follow APA style, which I believe still requires Times New Roman 12-point font. Following APA style means that you also, follow that for your source citations in the text as well as on the reference page. If you don't know how to use APA style, I encourage you to Google it and look for the site. That's OWL, O-W-L, just like the animal owl, at Purdue University. They have an excellent APA style guide that is broken down for you. I believe they even have some sample papers that show you how to cite in the paper and on the reference section. Now, what kinds of external sources am I talking about? An external source is a source that is external to you and to this class. In other words, your textbook is not an external source. That is part of the class. So you need to go and find sources that really, I would encourage you to be closer to the primary works as much as possible. For example, we're only reading translations and in some cases interpretations of these works, the classical works, but they can be found online and that's okay. That's usually a written text that is put online for our convenience. And believe me, it's a lot easier this way. But you can find out how to cite those original texts on the OWL site or in an APA handbook, style book. In addition, classical works generally don't require all of the special technicalities that more modern or contemporary works require. So if you're going to ask me, is Aristotle online? Yes. Is Plato online? Absolutely. Socrates works, the works of any of the theorists from the medieval period, from the classical Roman period. They are available to you. Now, on this paper, I am not looking for a number of sources. I am looking for the quality of your sources. So if you want to talk about, I don't know, ethos, pathos, and logos, then you need to make sure that you're citing Aristotle, Cicero, some of those people, somebody who has some credibility and knows original sources, as original as we can get, as close to primary as we can get. If, for example, you're going to answer a question that involves the medieval period and you want to talk about Christine de Pizan, I'm going to expect to see some Christine de Pizan cited there. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use other sources, like people who comment on Christine de Pizan. For example, I believe that there is a professor at the University of Notre Dame, the last I checked, whose last name is also Dudash, no relation that I know of at least, who studies Christine de Pizan. If you run into that person's work, her work, and you say, oh, I'm going to use this in my paper, absolutely, feel free to do that. But I'm hoping that I will also be seeing something from Christine de Pizan. So hopefully that helps you out. It's not about the number of sources, it's about the quality of sources and how you use them. Your job is simply to demonstrate to me your knowledge. That's your whole job. So here's 3 ways that I've broken down that you could do this. And so choose your own adventure. It's also choose what you like when it comes to, do you want to have somebody give you a pretty strict sort of outline of what you need to do, or are you looking for something a little bit more loose and free so that you can choose what you do? So option A in Choose Your Own Adventure is to simply pick a concept or idea from the class and demonstrate your knowledge of it. Get source citations, defining it, examples, etc. Just prove to me that you understand it. Some people will want to do, let's say, the 3 artificial proofs, right? Ethos, logos, and pathos. And some people will say, I just want to study ethos. Some people will say, I want to study in artificial and artificial proofs. Others will say, I just want to study in artificial proofs. It is entirely up to you. I will caution you on the following. Do not pick an incredibly large concept like rhetoric or a person. Don't do that. That will not work for you. It won't get done in 3 to 5 pages and certainly not adequately. So choose wisely. What do you want to focus on? How much detail do you want to go into? But this is definitely the loosest of the formats in the questions. Option B is a little bit more directed, and that is explain how rhetoric was maintained in the medieval period. That's it. You can choose to use a selection of theorists, any theorist that you want. You can talk about how rhetoric was maintained through the medieval period. That's what I'm looking for. Obviously, your textbook gives you some hints and ideas on what I might be looking for there. Last and the most, I would say, restrictive or prescriptive, I guess is the better word, is compare and contrast Plato and Aristotle in terms of their views on rhetoric. So literally that gives you basically the outline. Compare and contrast Aristotle and Plato on their ideas of rhetoric. So there are some ways that you could go about doing this, and many different ways that you could go about doing any of these three adventurous picks that you have. I know it's boring. I know the assignment is boring. But what I really want from this is to, one, just make sure that you are getting something out of the class. But number two, so that you can see how I grade. So when it comes to the second paper, which I'm not going to have an opportunity to give you feedback on before I grade it, you at least will have some idea of how I grade by using the rubric and by looking at my comments. All right, everybody, I hope that helps a little bit. As always, questions, comments, concerns, whatever, complaints, send them my way. I hope you're doing well. Have a good weekend.